Well, hello again, you little shit. All right, I don't know why I keep opening the podcast like an absolute asshole.
Yeah, don't be mean.
Don't be mean. Why am I being
we,
mean?
we love the people who listen to our podcast. Except for that one person, and you know who you are.
Yeah, you do. Piece of shit. Anyway, so welcome to the podcast. What is this podcast called? Neo, I can't remember today.
Is Your Takes Are Excrement, but you can turn them into gold.
Is that a reference to something?
That is a reference to something. Indeed it is. Just like everything I do in my life is a shallow representation of Jodorowsky.
Welcome to the podcast.
Catch me reading tarot in the local fucking Starbucks.
See, I do this thing like for the podcast, and I'll just tell people at home like I do this thing where the bit is I take a bong hit right before I go, hello and welcome to the podcast. So I never know what's going to come out of my mouth, and I always feel like woohoo, like woo. And so the bargain I'm making is that I just want this to be a wild time.
Guys, take it to 11. We gotta tone it back down to like a 7.
Yeah, exactly. So we started in 11. Hello, you little shit, and then we back it up to hello, and we're friendly. And see, don't worry. Follow us on Twitter.
I'm May, co-host,
and I'm
with
Neo.
Me is
yeah,
Neo.
Yeah, I'm Neo. I'm from Africa. Wow, we're just topsy-turvy all over the place today.
Yeah.
It's almost like we've had a very successful podcast for the week.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about that just very briefly? Like, I can't believe how popular this podcast is.
Yeah, y'all are killing it. We thank you so much. We're on like Spotify,
Everything.
Apple Music, literally anywhere you want to listen to a podcast.
YouTube.
You can find Excrement.
Yeah. Shout out to YouTube comments.
we
Like
have
people
a
listen
Patreon
on YouTube now.
It's going
Fuck,
pretty well.
Yeah, the Patreon. We haven't even talked about that. So we have what, like 3 patrons right now. It's very, very early, but we have started a Patreon because people were demanding it so goddamn much.
Gun to my head, and I said, please don't shoot me.
Yeah, so it's patreon.com/excrement. And wow, we are doing this shit weekly, by the way. Like, I'm kind of amazed at how well, like, this is episode 4. We have done weekly, we're doing weekly, and I think in the future we're going to continue to do weekly.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah,
it's a good model.
So with Patreon, if you don't join the Patreon, great. We still love you. We appreciate you listening.
Absolutely.
If you do join the Patreon, great. We appreciate you and we still love you. With the Patreon, you can get podcasts early, basically as soon as I'm done editing them. You can get a call out at the end of the episode. If you want us to advertise something for you.
Oh yeah.
I don't care what it is. If you join the advertisement tier, I'll advertise whatever the hell you want me to.
Your brand of anal bleach, we will happily
hell
advertise it.
Look, I've never had a wider asshole.
Oh my god. So, all right. Ads over, all this bullshit over. Like, what the fuck are we doing here today? Today we are talking about The Doom Generation, which is a film directed by Gregoraki. It was made in the 90s, I believe. And oh man, it's a spicy one. It's a real spicy one, and we're going to get into that. But like, primarily you need to know that this podcast is where me, May, shows Neo, a small boy, a cat boy from Africa. I show him horrible things on film that he could have never seen growing up, and then he gives me his, like, admittedly rather worldly takes on them. And today I have shown him quite possibly the gayest movie that is not gay ever made.
I've seen gay porn straighter than this movie.
God damn.
I've seen a man taking it up the ass straighter than this movie is.
Well, I love to know that that's what you're doing in your private time, but the more important part, well, I guess we've watched some shit at this point. Yeah. Can't be that shocked. I guess sexuality is like the least of our fears at this point.
I think so. I think our next episode's gonna be Sallow.
Oh,
and watching that movie just killed it for me. Like,
it was a different vibe.
Yeah, you can't get any. You can't shock me now.
Yeah, it's really hard after that. Well, and see, this is what I thought for the longest time, is that you couldn't shock me anymore, but it's out there. There's still stuff. But the Doom Generation is admittedly, like, it's such a strange one to be covering on this podcast for a million reasons. I mean, the number one being that it's kind of a comedy
Ish. I think so. I have kind of a bad take,
What's
right?
that?
I think part of the reason that this movie isn't as like viewable and like as distributed as a lot of other movies is because I don't think that the movie flows very well, and I don't think it's like I appreciate a lot of the messages and I like all the scenes are very, very good, but it feels like a collection of scenes to make a point.
You're right.
So it's I like the movie, but also I have to critique it as it feels really chop shop.
Yeah.
It's just like my car. It's like an assorted like an assorted just like collage
it runs,
of things.
but barely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels really like film student-y. And that not as like a bad thing, but
I mean, but that's pretty fair. I mean, and for a lot of reasons, and we'll probably, I mean, we gotta talk about what the fuck the movie's about. We can't just dive in.
I know.
We can't start talking shit. I could talk shit, but I love the movie. I could also talk shit, but we're going to talk shit. Don't worry. But we have to let the people know what the fuck we're talking about, Neo.
I think introducing my take on that is important for the summary of the movie.
No, I agree. But now, what the fuck is the movie? Neo, go.
And I'm gonna, as per tradition, I don't remember any of the damn characters' names. So
it's okay, I got you.
The movie is about a couple, and they are kind of just going on they're at a concert, and this dude who's getting jumps in their car and tells them to drive. So they drive off, and having acquired this massive, hot asshole, and the movie then just turns into they go to a place, they either commit extraordinary violence to somebody or extraordinary violence happens to them, and then they go to a motel and don't have gay sex, but in the most erotic not having sex possible. And this happens 3 or 4 times until in the end of the movie you have the guy who got jumped and the girl end up surviving this horrific attack by American Nazis who raped the girl with the Virgin Mary on top of an American flag while playing, is it the national anthem or is it some other Americana song? And then they cut the young, eager, dumb to the world character's dick off, shove it in his mouth before the asshole gets the shears and kills the Nazis. And the movie ends with the asshole got jumped and the main girl driving off into the desert eating Doritos.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No, you sure didn't. So I have so many things to say, but I can't believe that after that description, you would think that movie, the thing you just described, would be somewhat incoherent to watch.
It's really video gamey. You know, it's like
missions.
It's literally it's like a video game where you like select the mission in the main menu and just kind of run down the list of missions. So you have like the gas station.
Yeah.
Then you have the
it's a road movie.
Yeah, you have the gas station, then you have the fast food place, then you have the bar. Then you have the Nazis.
Yeah. Well, and it's like a road movie, but there isn't really much of a destination.
No, they're just trying to go.
Well, and so that's the thing I think that makes it feel kind of film student-y. Mm-hmm. It's this Gen X thing. And so Gregoraki and this particular time in film history is like, you know, predicated on people like Quentin Tarantino, like Kevin Smith, you know, people in the 90s that were making kind of like postmodern interpretations of regular movies. So this was kind of a postmodern interpretation of an American road movie done by, you know, a gay that wanted to do it in the gayest possible way. But like ultimately it is postmodern in that there is no destination, because that's like what the generation felt. Like the generation like Gen X, they genuinely felt like they didn't have much of a destination. They didn't have like a future or a career.
Mm-hmm.
And so this movie is documenting that kind of feeling by being a road movie where there's no destination. But when there's no real destination, I feel like you kind of like forget what the fuck we're doing.
Right. Well, it's I think movies, at least movies that are mostly coherent have a thing like they have a goal. Like it's part of like the hero story, ignoring the flaws of your typical like hero story stuff, but there's always, it's like I feel like to have at least a coherent narrative there needs to be you need to telegraph fairly early on this is the end.
Yeah, you got to build the end into the beginning, right?
Yeah, and so like when the final scene happened, when they're cutting the like kind of the twink's dick off, I didn't think that was going to be the end of the movie. Like I thought that they were going to get out of it and there was more to the movie because it isn't a very long movie.
No, it's very
so I was
short.
expecting like a 2.5 hour long movie, and so I thought that they were going to get out of that and then keep going. And I don't know where I thought the movie was going to end. I just didn't like it. Just kind of ended, and in a way that was really shocking. And so I think part of the reason that movie really shocked me, especially the scene like the when he gets his dick cut off, was like one of the more shocking scenes I've seen in a movie. Just because it wasn't telegraphed at all, and I didn't expect it to happen.
Right.
Because the entire movie.
Well, you also don't see it happen like physically.
Well, not. I mean, kind
like
of.
It's
you
off
see,
screen
it's like
slightly.
it's like focused on the guy's face, and there's like blood spraying over his face. And
Yeah.
in the whole scene that's happening, there's a strobe light, so it's really disorientating as well because it's all like strobed, and you get that effect where people are like jumping between like jumping through the darkness.
Right,
just
but
get
it's
with,
still
like, strobes.
it's still shocking, even though it doesn't really show you the thing. Is my point.
The screams are really convincing. Like great. What's that actor's name again?
Oh my god. Oh no. I've got to Google it. No.
Yeah. Well, so like as you put up
I
his
know
name,
him. I
like,
love that actor. I can't remember his name right now.
just
oh my
his
god.
like screams are really
James
like,
DuVall. Oh Jesus Christ.
James DuVall. His screams are really good in that, and so,
noted turf Rose McGowan.
Oh no.
Well, she's been a turf. I don't know if she's currently a turf. She might be currently a turf.
Also, we're gonna just briefly interrupt this message. We're filming this on November 22nd, and this morning J.K. Rowling was a massive cunt. So I'm just gonna interrupt this to say fuck J.K. Rowling. I wish she was J.K. Rotting.
Oh God.
All right, moving back to the movie.
So okay.
So there's this like scene where every other scene in the movie or every other time there's violence threatened against the little gay polycule, they get out fine, and it's comical. So like the first is the first scene where they're threatened by a really racist depiction of a rooftop Asian who's gonna shoot them because they need to go to their car to pay for food. So that's also not a great take.
No, it's
from the
not.
director. It's just like,
but also
there's like racist Asian stereotype,
which is strange though because I believe Gregoraki is Asian.
Yeah, it's spicy.
Yeah.
So there's this racist depiction of an Asian like store owner. They end up blowing his head off with a shotgun, and then it falls on like a mustard dispenser. So there's like, because it's like depressing the mustard, there's just mustard like pouring out of his mouth, and it's just really gross. And then
now going to Google if Gregoraki is in fact Asian. Yes, confirmed for Asian.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah.
Also confirmed for gay.
Yeah. In this movie.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
Well, and so the movie almost opens with like a challenge. Like the movie opens with a title card that says a heterosexual film by Gregoraki, which is funny because he's mostly known for doing like film brat, uber crazy violent punk, like, queer movies, and like that's his big thing. So like totally fucked up and nowhere, and there's other stuff like that's kind of more his vibe. And so this one is him trying to not do what he always does. But the funny thing is, it's almost like, no, it's an excuse.
Right.
It's an excuse to make it more erotic because they can't do it.
Yeah. Well, so that leads me into the next part of the movie where all three of them get a hotel room.
Yes.
And there's just the most like homosexual shots of people not having sex. And they're like, someone's lying on the bed and their head's like lying backwards, and someone's sitting against the bed, and they're like looking longingly into each other's eyes, and their faces are like half an inch apart.
As friends. Like buds.
As buds. And they're just like kind of both breathing heavily, and I think they're both shirtless and muscular.
Probably.
And like a little bit of like glistening sweat.
And one is clearly a top and one is clearly a bottom.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh.
Well, and then
sinister film.
The bottom immediately gets up and goes and has sex with with the girl.
Right. Well, and like the fucked up thing is like they kind of trade the girl around, even though clearly they want to fuck each other.
Yeah, so they're like fucking her instead of fucking each other.
Right.
And every time the other one of them fucks the girl, the other masturbates watching them,
which is great.
So
we love that.
There's a lot of just like actual jizz, like there's just like
jism.
Shots of jizz on hands and people eating that jizz.
Well, okay. Before we continue, we should mention that this film is. You're not going to be able to find it. You, the viewer, the listener at home, hello. Hi, I'm breaking the illusion. I'm breaking the fourth wall to say to you at home, the Doom generation has a sordid history of being one of the most censored films in American film history for some fucking weird reason.
It was hard for us to find. It took us weeks,
hard
like a week and a half.
Hard is an understatement. There is not a copy of it in the state I live in, and I live in the biggest state.
Yeah.
Fuck that. And so I went online.
No, there's one copy.
Yeah, but it's fucking hundreds of miles away. Fucking garbage. So, and also you can get like copies of this fairly regularly that are censored or cut. And when I say censored or cut, I mean like 10-15 minutes of that is cut out. Like it's significant. Like it's almost it's unwatchably shitty.
Right.
Unwatchably shitty. And so then let's say miraculously you find a copy of the movie that is unrated. You're going to be getting a pan and scan version, which is basically, do you know what that is? Do you know what that means?
Is that how they made widescreen movies fit on
full screen
TVs?
TVs? Yeah. So they crop the shit out of the widescreen, which is fucking offensive. And so you can't even see 25% of the movie.
Should have happened on Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Get wrecked.
Get wrecked, Snyder.
Snack Snyder. So yeah, this film is notoriously like the worst presented, the most like, if you can find it, it's the most like DIY punk thing that anyone has. Like no one has this. And if you go online and you try to find, let's say let's call it a very, very, very legal download link somewhere on a website, you will be hard pressed to even find that. Like it's out there somewhere, but it's very hard to find. Like seriously, it took a while to get to this podcast.
Yeah.
Like we've been talking about doing this episode of this podcast since the very beginning, and we've been searching and we finally watched it. Like, and it is genuinely difficult. So people at Criterion, what the fuck, guys? Like, let's get the Doom generation on fucking 4K, you know, uncut. Like, let's see it like on the app or on Blu-ray or something. Like, let's get Gregoraki's movies out there. What the hell? What's going on?
Yeah.
Why is this stuff so hard to find?
So yeah. So then, so after they have this like really homoerotic not having sex scene.
Right.
They go and get food, and one of the employees recognizes the girl, gets really mad because he thinks that they're both still in love with each other. So he follows them home and follows them to the motel and tries to kill them. And they kill him and move on.
Yeah. Well, and so there's this recurring bit in the movie that the girl is like someone who's dated just everybody in town and doesn't even remember all of the people. And they all still think that they're all dating her.
Yeah. Well, it
ends in violence.
It's almost like Scott Pilgrim, where they have to like fight all of her exes for her
in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the line is close enough that I'm almost positive I'd put money on
reference
Edgar Wright. Is he? Yeah.
Well,
right?
Maybe.
Edgar Wright. I'd put money on Edgar Wright having seen Doom Generation.
Oh, probably. But I mean, like, I don't know exactly what influence this movie even has, because like it's kind of this specific thing where like things 70s, 80s, like early 90s, I can usually see the influence in today's cinema, but Gregoraki's influence is just not. It's not here. Like, where is it? What is it? Like, I feel like people should probably see these movies, and the fact that they are withheld kind of is offensive to me.
Right.
But also, like, what influence has this had? I wish that it could have had more. I think it's had influence on the people that have seen it, but like, yeah, it's not an easy thing to find or to see. And even if you have seen it, like, you have to be some, and maybe this is a hot take, but you have to be some level of queer, I think, to truly understand this. I feel like you set a completely ignorant hetero person down to watch this, and they'll be like, I don't get it. Why are they all friends? And like, it's fucking insane, you know.
It's like the subreddit, like Sappho and your friend. Or it's like, hey, this historical figure lived with, like, she lived with her best friend for 60 years, and they shared clothes, and they kissed in public. What close friends they were.
They were such good friends.
They even shared a bed. They're such friends.
Such friends. Yes. So, like, watching this movie as a queer person is interesting because, like, there are multiple interpretations, I think, of the movie. I think there's the one main interpretation, which is the one that's kind of lived through the 90s and lives to now, is like, so studio interference, money, all that stuff. It's like handing somebody money and being like, this is going to be your heterosexual movie, and him being like, okay, I have to do it in a heterosexual way. So the whole movie is like, they teeter on it, but they can't go over the line. And then at the very end, they do go over the line. And because they've crossed the line, they're immediately punished. And that's sort of the way the movie ends. And so that's like the main take that I've heard the majority of my life. But I think there's another take too, which is kind of like this like the queer homewrecker stereotype, which is something that you'll never hear about. But it's a thing where, like, a straight couple will meet a guy, and then those guys are gonna fuck and leave that woman. Yeah. But basically, they tease it so that it has to be him doing that with the girl, even though clearly he has better chemistry with James DuVall's character. Right. So it's like, at the end of the movie, here, okay, this is another stereotype about queer people, but it's like, whenever you meet a queer person and you start dating them, there's a tendency, at least somewhat, for that person to have some fucking baggage. Right? Well, and the same with just about anybody. But, like, you don't understand what that person's baggage is, and that person's baggage usually harms you and comes back to bite you and not them. So, like, the end of the movie, they're driving off, they're eating a Dorito as if nothing happened, even though, like,
they just saw their both of their lover,
yeah,
like someone both of them had significant feelings for,
right,
get viciously murdered for being gay.
but ultimately that's the thing though, is like, well, oh well, I'm gonna eat this Dorito, like I caused this, but I didn't see any repercussions for it, you know what I mean? Like in a weird way. And so this whole time they're causing violence without realizing or not intending to cause violence. Other people are causing violence to them while intending to do it and failing.
Well, in James DuVall's character, like the one who gets hurt,
yeah,
the entire movie never causes violence. He's always just the sweetest innocent, person, like just wants everyone to get along.
Yeah,
like it's like a peacemaker. Like he doesn't like conflict.
Yeah,
so he's just like going with
generally
the flow.
Good dude.
And so that's just like, I think the end of the movie would be much less shocking if it wasn't his character that got killed. The fact that he, like, the top, whatever his name is, the top man is obviously names. Like bi and has had that experience, isn't or doesn't get murdered for being gay, when like the bottom, who hasn't done anything like the entire movie, as a single gay experience, and then he's the one who gets murdered for being gay, and then the other two just kind of drive off, and they're not particularly fucked up about it.
Well, and like
eating Doritos.
Well, and like I think the end there is trying to paint the situation, and the situation is that, okay, so there's a top man, bottom effeminate man, and then cis woman. There's Nazis representing America because they have the flag.
Well,
and
there's
they do the things.
American Nazis.
So, and they use religion to take the woman's body, right? So they're like raping her with religion, right? So they're preventing her from being able to like be alive or live her life because they're keeping her in religious shackles. That's what that is symbolizing. And then between the two guys, which one are they going to kill, and for how and for why? You know, they're going to go after the effeminate male,
right? And
they're going to go after the effeminate male's junk, even though like that is, you know what I mean? So, but this is the rooted in truth, right? This is the way that they attack. Like they'll go after the effeminate male. And notice, like, you know, in the AIDS crisis, whatever, bottoms get it worse. Bottoms get it the worst of everybody. And so, like, effeminate, like AMAB, you know what I mean? Like, effeminate AMAB people are gonna get it the fucking worst in this situation. But women are going to be held down by religion. But the top gets away. Scot-free. Nothing happens to the top.
And he's the one who like commits violence against the Nazis,
right?
Like, so I really hated the top for most of the movie. Like, he's just such a piece of shit in the movie.
But I mean, that's the bit, isn't that what we want from our top? We want our top to be a piece of shit,
to be like shitty daddy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so, but I think that's also kind of a thing that's in there, is like talking about, you know, you want a top to be a specific way, but then you get into the situation and you're like, oh, I don't actually want this to be like this. It's like fantasy versus reality, you know? It's like you don't want the reality of the world to be exactly like that. But they tease the whole thing, the entire movie, with like the 666s, and there's all these signs that are like, you're going to hell, like you're driving to hell. And so queer hell for them is like immediate punishment for being gay. Like they punish the bottom the hardest, like physically, and like literally kill him. And they like punish the woman with the way that they always punish women. And the top does a little violence, gets away, and gets to eat Doritos. You know, so it's like once again, dominant males get off scot-free, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, so there's I think the idea there that the one thing that they'll reinforce and tolerate is like a dominant guy. Like a dominant guy is fine, but like anything other than that is just fucked.
Well, it's like the Romans, culturally, it was fine to be gay as long as you were a top.
Yeah. There you go.
But like culturally, it was like yeah, it's not gay if you're on the top, and it's just normal. This is you executing power.
Well, real quick, let's do a quick little ad. We're at 30 minutes. So, hi, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. I am glad you're enjoying your time here. If you like what we do and are doing, you should consider supporting us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/excrement. That's where we post our shit. You get it? Yeah, good shit. Yeah. Also, you can find us anywhere on where podcasts are sold. Do people... That's not.
No, they don't.
It's more of like a free thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free everywhere. You can't get rid of us.
No, we're like a sickness.
Shit.
It's like stink on shit. Oh my god. All right. So, to continue.
Yeah.
The thing I think that I want to talk about is the punk mentality a little bit, because we've been doing a lot of research on like punk lately.
Right.
And so I would consider this movie to be, a very 90s American Gen X punk movie.
Do you think Black Flag's seen this movie?
Probably. What the fuck?
What's the lead singer's name?
Oh, Henry Rollins?
I want to hear Henry Rollins' take on this movie.
Yeah, I'm probably right. Well, I just want to hear Henry Rollins' take on just about anything, really. But, like, you're bouncing and it's making a noise.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm just letting you know. So, like... So we've been doing a lot of research on like the punk stuff lately and just kind of culturally how that is. And there's this tendency, I think, for there's privilege in punk communities where there's like some punks are just totally fine and they don't experience a lot of the like violence and problems that, you experience as a punk, and kind of like experience. And this has been like talked about to death, that the experience of the American punk is not great. Like, you get beat up by cops, you're like living in punk crashes and like not being able to get housing, and people just generally hating you for like looking like that or acting like that or whatever that means. And then like that ends up perpetuating a kind of like a bad thing, because then you end up having to cope a lot, and then you end up in like drug communities, and like there's all kinds of bad shit that goes on in punk communities.
It's like when society sees you as something, they will hammer you into that role and then demean you for it.
Right. Well, and so this movie kind of like approaches the queer subject in the way that like someone would approach like punk stuff, and they kind of handle it the same way. I mean, half the movie is them just crashing in like punk crashes together, like as three people just like trying to make it. And like ultimately that makes it the most punk movie ever, right? Because it's about three people just trying to make it, because that's like exactly what being a punk is. It's just trying to make it,
driving around like a beater car, getting in street violence,
and just desperately trying not to die,
trying to make it.
Yeah. And like, they when they go to eat food, like they always get fast food, or they go to like a gas station and get like hot dogs. Like they can't afford shit. They don't have any money.
And
like
it always costs $6.66.
Right. And so, but they don't end up paying anyway, I don't think. But anyway, so it's just like it's very accurate to sort of both the punk lifestyle, and also it embodies the punk mentality when it comes to like the way it talks about queerness, because it's like yeah, not only is America like a bad thing and the American dream is a bad thing, which is something that's challenging in film and rarely depicted, that the American dream is like a bad thing and it doesn't exist for anybody outside of like cis straight white people who are like over 40. Like those are the only people the American dream could ever have possibly existed for, and everybody else is a fucking nightmare, especially for black people, especially for queer people. Is horrible. And like punk people know that, and punks like are communicating that all the time. Like that's their whole life, and they're like doing it because it's necessary, right? So this movie takes that approach with queerness, where it's just like, okay, here's queerness. And here's how it's gonna be fucked over and mistreated. Like, here's how it actually like manifests in society, which is usually like you're either treated like you're shoplifting or you're like a miscreant everywhere you go because you're queer / punk, or you like
you're just attacked.
You're just attacked. People like obsess over you. People treat you like you're a rock star when you're just trying to fucking make it.
Right.
And like people act like you like are somebody, like, and you're not. Like, so, and then of course this all ends in horrific punishment.
Right.
For no sin, really.
Like, punks and queers have ultimately like the same enemy, and that's like fascists in societal
fascist American society.
Yeah.
And so like this movie ends up being the Punkest movie, and I think that that's kind of its like legacy. If we're talking about its legacy, it's like kind of got this legacy as being one of the punkest movies, just because it's like not readily available, because it's too honest. It's not, it's gay, but it's not gay. It's like trying to communicate with straight language, but it's doing it with this winking gayness. And it's about how like we're all gonna die because fascists have taken over the United States.
Right.
So great. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, George.
Thanks. Wait, George?
What's his name again?
What?
The director.
Now you got me confused. Why the fuck?
Gregg.
Gregoraki.
George and Gregg are the same name.
What?
Yeah.
Not true. Not true.
True.
Not true.
True.
Not true. Disagree.
Right, so George. I forgot what I was even saying.
I don't remember. So you haven't really. So have we talked about James DuVall at all? I mean, the cast of this is kind of interesting because, okay, James DuVall is like the hottest boy, and I think everyone knows this, but he's also Frank from Donnie Darko.
Yeah, I think he's hotter than Donnie Darko.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I think he was younger there, but I could be wrong.
I feel like I don't know why I think his chin looks bad in Doom Generation.
His chin?
Yeah,
what the fuck?
I don't know why. I don't
get him. No, get him.
No. Well, no, but it looks better in Donnie Darko. I don't know like what that's about. I'm just tripping. Don't worry about me.
Don't worry
that's
about me.
That's just my take. It's for whatever reason I was like, his chin just looks weird.
So, well, and also, for whatever reason, I get these two people confused, and I don't know why, and I think I need to see a doctor about it, but I keep getting the main actress of this, which, my God, Rose McGowan, who I've met in my lifetime. I get her confused with Courtney Love a lot, and I don't know why. I guess it's the 90s connection and the hair, maybe. I don't even know. No, I'm just wrong. Leave me alone. Anyway, so
this has been the bad take 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's just been shit. Rose McGowan is a whole rabbit hole. Do you know anything about her?
The only thing I know is talking about things that got on my nerves. Her voice annoyed the fuck out of me in this movie.
Well, okay. The whole, also the dialogue in the movie
isn't
just
great.
It's just entirely like, suck my fuck, asshole.
Yeah.
Like they just say shit like that the whole movie. Like every line of dialogue is that, which is interesting.
Her character just actually annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah. But well, I mean, I think that the bit there is that, like, at the beginning you're like, she's so hot, so cool, she's the cool one. But then over the course of the movie, you're like, she's actually kind of lame and kind of a disaster, and I don't really like her very much at all. Yeah, and you end up, the only character you really like is James DuVall. Yeah, I think,
because he's the only like innocent.
Yeah,
protagonist.
He's like the only good dude. But Rose McGowan. So So notably, she's the person who sort of started the Me Too movement, sort of.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
she with Harvey Weinstein. Yeah, she had some bad Harvey Weinstein experiences, and she started a hashtag about it. And now everybody bitches about cancel culture, and it's all because of Rose McGowan. Isn't that hilarious?
Our queen.
Yeah. Only problem. See, great that she came out against Harvey Weinstein, fucking prick, but she's also kind of a turf from what I remember, and I don't have documentation of this, but I remember this one time she was like speaking, and some trans person was like, why do you ignore the experiences of trans women? And she was like, she had this meltdown on the stage where she was just like, everybody's always asking me to talk about this and I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? In that like shrill voice she has.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I see. Suck my fuck, dickhead. And so I met her once at a convention.
I want to go hang out with J.K. Rowling.
I met her at a convention once, and she had shaved her head, and so everybody was just like taking pictures with her, and she was just like kind of bitchy.
What?
And she had her head shaved.
Unbelievable.
Oh boy. Yeah, I've never met James DuVall though, which is good for two reasons. Number one, because he is incredibly hot and my type, and B, he's old now and not nearly as hot as he used to be, and I would just get really sad.
He didn't age as well as Kurt Russell did.
No, no, he didn't. So do you know about SLC Punk?
Nope.
Okay, so this movie about punks. It's not. Some people think that it's good. Some people think that it's bad. I'm kind of in the camp that I think that it's like kind of neoliberal shit movie that's not really about punk life. But I think that the Doom Generation is a lot more punk than SLC Punk, and I can prove it because the Doom Generation is called the Doom Generation, which is very punk. SLC Punk is not. Anyway, Matthew Lillard is in it. I know, and I met him once too, and he told me John Carpenter was dead. I think I told you that. Anyway,
yeah, we talked about this.
We did.
Literally last episode.
We fucking did. Matthew Lillard. So yeah, SLC Punk has James DuVall in it at one point, and he's really hot in it. And then they made an SLC Punk 2 much later in American history, and James DuVall was in it again, and I was very excited because I was like, oh shit, James DuVall is gonna be in a movie. I'm gonna get wet in the theater. And then he came out like this crusty old asshole, and I was just like, oh no, I want to die. So
oh, how far the mighty have fallen.
You know, exactly. God damn.
Let's find a picture of old James DuVall.
Old James DuVall. Let's take a look. We're going to take a look under the hood. Oh, boy. Is he still fuckable, Neo?
You know what?
You know what?
I think he's...
Let's see a
I
picture
think that's
of
a
him.
bad picture of him. I think he's still pretty good.
Yeah, you know?
I think he needs
Not
to try
too
to
bad.
abandon the punk vibe, but
He looks like a tough boy,
yeah.
but I like it when
Less
he's a
twinky.
sweet boy. Yeah.
But more daddy.
More daddy. I mean, but we don't like to see a twink age into a daddy. Do we?
Oh, no. Is there a good one? Is there a good twink
Twink turned
daddy?
I can't think of one.
Y'all gonna come at me for this take. Zac Efron?
You know, not bad.
Like,
not bad.
He was
pretty
in,
good
like,
shot.
the first High School Musical. He was
Twinkest.
Like despite them trying to make him like macho athlete, he was a little twink. But like I'm gonna be honest, the only recent Zac Efron movie I've watched is the shitty remake of Baywatch.
Oh Jesus, I saw that as well.
He's hot. Despite the movie being really bad and shitty.
Yeah.
He's hot. He's daddy.
I never had someone as good for me as you.
I-
No one like you. I hated it.
I hate High School Musical movies. I think there was the one song in the second when they were in the scrapyard that was pretty good, And
I don't even remember.
There was
this.
one song, and I think it was the third one where he's like having the freak out in the dark gym.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so like I had to watch those movies with my sisters all the goddamn time.
Yeah, me too.
Like on repeat.
Yeah.
Just like because that was their favorite movie, and I had to find something that I liked about them to not like jump out of a fucking window.
Right. Well, I've never really liked Disney, and I think it's because I've always known that life was pain. And so Disney is always like, life's wonderful. Everybody loves each other. And I'm just like, bullshit. Like, I know the truth, and that's that we live in a world of hate.
So my family, we used to have video game restrictions on times, so I could only play for like an hour. But if you were playing with somebody else, you could partake in their hour.
Oh, fuck.
So we had the High School Musical dance game for the Wii.
No, Neo.
And because I was so fucking bored, and I only had a limited selection of books, I would play with my sisters. And I got really good at High School Musical for the Wii.
Oh, Jesus, Neo.
So there were these like 6 circles and like 3 for your nunchuck and then 3 for your Wii controller, and it was like a rhythm game. So when like the ball would go over the thing, you had to point, you had to like push in that direction to get points.
I never had someone. It's gonna be you can't see this at home because we're on a podcast, but Neo is flailing around like a beautiful queen. Wow. So the Doom generation. Oh man, it's funny because we ran out of things to talk about with the Doom generation, so we started talking about High School Musical.
That has James DuVall in it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He don't ask me where.
See, so I heard something once, and
Disney censored the scenes he was in. It was too homoerotic between him and Zac Efron.
There's this one scene in Nowhere where he's like jerking off in a shower, and it's like the hottest thing I've ever seen in my life. We gotta watch that next, anyway. So, what was I gonna? So, I heard a rumor once upon a time, a long time ago, Neo.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that if you tweet at James DuVall, he will 100% tweet you back. He always tweets you back. That's what I heard.
All right.
I heard that James DuVall always tweets you back. So here's why this is great. See, I forgot to tell you something on our last couple podcasts ago, but Paul Williams. Do you know who Paul Williams is, Neo? Swan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He follows me on Twitter.
What?
He always tweets you back if you tweet him.
Wow.
Yeah. So if we tweeted Paul Williams our episode of the podcast, he would retweet it. I promise he would. Guaranteed. I would put money on it.
Should we send him that? Let's just like all y'all don't harass him, but let's all just throw the podcast on Twitter.
Yeah.
And when this comes out, James DuVall.
See, that's what I'm saying. So what we do is when this comes out, everybody that's listening right now, we got to go tell James DuVall that he's still hot. We still love him.
Yeah.
And we can never let him forget. And he's not nearly as famous as he needs to be, but my God, he's so hot.
If we want James DuVall to hear any part of this podcast, I think it's that we stand you, King.
We stand you, King.
Salute.
You're hot as fuck. We love your shit. Hey, James DuVall, if you're actually listening to this, come on our podcast. We'll talk to you about the movie. We have so many questions.
Yeah.
Well, so we gotta definitely try that, right? We gotta definitely give James a little tweety poo at some point. Give that a shot. You know, unfortunately, Ruggero Deodato, the director of Cannibal Holocaust, I don't believe he's on Twitter, but can't retweet him. And I don't think Kurt Russell gives a fuck about us either.
I don't know if I would want to talk to the director of Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
And I think I would be... I don't think I would have the capacity to talk to Kurt Russell. I think I would just be like, Kurt.
My
Kurt.
king, my man.
Kurt.
Goddamn. All right. Well... So I think we need to start wrapping it up. I think we've done a pretty decent job here. We got our takes out at least. We need to decide though, which is a difficult decision. Do we throw the Doom generation in Neo's excrement pile or not? Because I know that you actually kind of have a little bit of a mixed opinion, and you actually have a lot of criticism of this. Like, you don't really feel like it's all that cogent.
I guess my closing thoughts is, I think from like a linear storytelling perspective, the movie doesn't really make any sense. I think from a I think that the scene, it wasn't scary, but it's just really like the scene where they get their dicks cut off. It was off-putting, it made me uncomfortable, and not like a good like quality uncomfortable, but in a like this just like viscerally, this like touch it.
It was awful for your dick to see.
It's like hitting your funny bone. It's like that feeling of like just discomfort, and it's like the strobe kind of made my brain go a little haywire, and it was just disorientating, and like
you hated it.
I hated it, and then the movie just ended after that. So like my takes going away from the movie is just on that, like it's like that scene set the note, and then he like left me.
Right.
I will say I'm gonna put it in the good excrement pile.
Okay.
It's hot. Like the movie.
Hot excrement. Stanky.
Hot.
Yeah.
James DuVall is great. James DuVall's hot.
There's too much eroticism to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to say I'm not a fan of the racist Asian stereotypes, but I gotta put it in the I kind of enjoyed the movie. All right, I did enjoy the movie. There were 3 minutes I viscerally didn't enjoy.
One of these days, we're probably going to watch one that you're going to not want to put in the thing, and I'm going to have to be like, come on, let's put it in, and you're going to be like, no. And I'm going to be like, come on. Anyway, obviously, I love the Doom generation. That's why I'm here. I love the Doom generation, so it's obviously going to go in my pile, but one day we're going to be watching one that you're not going to like at all.
It might come sooner than you think.
It might. We're working diligently on this side to make sure that we can get a weekly podcast out. So we've already watched Sallow and are ready for that. So that's going to be a whole fucking thing. And then, like, what's next?
We'll see.
You'll see. Something shitty. We need to watch something shitty so that Neo can hate it. So we were talking about it the other day, and I'm just going to bring this up now. We were talking about it. We were talking about doing a Serbian film at episode 10 because Neo's going to have a hard time with that one.
We were also talking about doing a movie that I've seen and May hasn't, that's not necessarily in the purview of the podcast, but would be great to talk about and to put in an excrement and not pile.
Neo wants to torment me with, what is the film? The Gods Must Be Crazy?
Yeah.
Okay, well, and that's not a horror film. That is just...
It's cult classic for if you're a white South African.
So it would be learning a lot about a white South African, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bore, you could say.
Yeah, 1 week, yeah. So we'll work that into the schedule as soon as possible.
All right. I've been Neo.
I've been May, and
you can find May on Twitter
at Nick Spheres.
At Nick Sphere. I'm at Angstrom. The podcast Twitter is at Your Take is EX.
Yes, it's true. And also, so we are, as of this moment, I think we're probably surpassed 1,000 downloads. But man, we've been kicking it off lately. So the Podbean is like a very good place to listen to the podcast. Like it definitely generates a lot of views there, and it looks good on there. And we're probably going to swap to a network at some point in the future. But
we'll see.
Like we're waiting for that to happen.
If you're in a podcast network and you want to give me money, I am a shrill.
A shrill?
A shill. I'm sorry.
I'm shrill.
I'm a shrill shill.
Yeah, I'll take $1.
Yeah.
I'll take 2.
Or 3. Cat food's expensive.
Which reminds me, cat food is expensive. Support us on Patreon. I guess that's the last... I don't need to keep saying. But anyway, it's patreon.com/excrement. We're going to keep dumping content on there as long as we keep making content, which is going to keep happening. So there it is. Anyway, so I guess we're going to let you off a little early today. We're going to let you out a little early from class. So
don't cause problems in the hallways.
Yeah. Don't start shit with any other kids.
Don't disrupt any other class.
Yeah, and just make sure that you get to your next class on time, okay?
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.